It's estimated there are more than 500,000 endemic plant and animal species in Australia, but that only a quarter have been discovered so far. In a bid to change that, a multi-million-dollar discovery program has been surveying selected properties across Australia. The second Bush Blitz, as it's been coined, has been taking place in Tasmania this week, where scientists from a range of disciplines put Skullbone Plains in the Central Highlands under the microscope for the first time. This 1,600-hectare property in Tasmania's Central Highlands was owned by timber company Guns. It's part of a massive 28,000-hectare portfolio sold by the timber company when it quit the native timber industry. Almost 2 years ago, the Tasmanian Land Conservancy purchased the entire estate for $23 million with the help of environmental philanthropists.
Some of the Skullbone Plains landscape has been logged in parts on in the forested areas, but by and large this property is not a forestry property. It is open plains, grasslands, endangered sphagnum moss beds and some terrific other wetlands and grasslands that all make a mosaic of a really important property. And by and large it's in very good condition.
Sharing a 16-kilometre stretch of boundary with the World Heritage Area, Skullbone Plains is home to a number of rare and endangered species. There's some debate about the origin of the property's name. One theory is that it stems from the white lichen-covered rocks that are scattered across the plains, resembling a field of bones. But this property is very much alive, as this team of scientists discovered as they headed out to catalogue the natural values of the place and the plants and animals that utilise it for their existence. What have you found there?
Well, I've got one of those things that you really can't wait to get home to have a look at.
The lichen at Skullbones has GINTARAS KANTVILAS excited.
It's a completely unknown vista. Now, it's been exciting so far. I've only had a morning out. I think I've got about 3 things that are possibly new to science.
The specimens he collects will go into the herbarium collection at the Tasmanian Museum.
Lichens are a critical part of the diversity. I mean, in numbers, they're big. In terms of the role they play in the ecosystem, they're also important. I mean, things eat them, things camp on them, things burrow underneath them, things use them for their nests.
He's not the only one making new discoveries. Robert Raven from the Queensland Museum is referred to as the Spider-Man.
It's a laceweb spider of the genus Tasmarubris. It's a group of spiders which are probably endemic to Tasmania, and this is probably a new species. We'd need to put it under the microscope to be sure. Looks interestingly venomous, this one, so I'm not being too careless with it.
In just a couple of days, he's collected about 45 species of spider in the area. He estimates that before this week's Bush Blitz is over, he'll have collected around 160.
Of those we've got already, we've got probably at least 4 or 5 new species, which is pretty hard to do in Tasmania because a lot of work has been done on a lot of these spider groups, but it looks like we've got 5 good new species amongst it.
They're not just being collected for museums.
One of the things about spiders is they all have venom, and all the venoms are different, of different species, and they're using some of the venoms to look at pharmaceutical products, drugs and so forth, that will be beneficial to man. So that when you've got 160 species in the area, you've got 160 potential animals which can provide interesting drugs for these sorts of things.
Based at the old hydro village at Bronte Park, the scientists gather, collate and examine their quarry in a makeshift laboratory. 12 other properties covering every state in Australia have so far had the Bush Blitz treatment. Prior to this one, the program has uncovered 600 new or undescribed species.
The purpose of the Bush Blitz is really to provide us with some information about what exists there. So then we can use that information in our management and our monitoring of that reserve.
It's the second in Tasmania.
Just within a week, to have a congregation of up to 20 scientists that are internationally known in many cases, and that information collected within a week, it would probably have taken us years to accumulate that amount.
The Land Conservancy is setting up 10 long-term monitoring sites.
In terms of the ecological values, it'll reinforce what we thought we knew when we first purchased the property, and that is that it forms a fantastic contiguous link with both the World Heritage Area and the properties on the other side.
Former government wildlife biologist Nick Mooney is volunteering with the Land Conservancy.
These sorts of places that are poorly known, they're not badly disturbed, are really good reference places. So we've got to get to know them before change happens. Many of the other places in Tasmania, there's been lots of change. Change is constant, but up here it's a lot slower. But you've only got to get off the road and not much has changed in thousands of years. And so these become our very valuable reference points.
But the Tasmanian devil population has dropped by around 85%.
5-6 years ago, eastern quolls and devils were very, very common here. And we know, while most of the devils are gone, but the eastern quoll population has crashed. They're quite uncommon here now, and we've got no idea why that happened.
It's also home to the wedge-tailed eagle.
There has been some logging here. We have lost some nests, but by and large, wedge-tails are operating here in a very natural situation. That again is the same thing. It gives us a better measure of natural productivity, what the wedge-tails do when they're not hemmed in by people, and that lets us better measure the changes caused by people so we can manage those changes if we have to.